You may not know it where you are when you're watching this program, but we're recording it on President's Day 2003. Very interesting combination of weather patterns across the country. In case you haven't been watching your television sets in real time, the part of our United States from New York City down through Washington, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, talk about hammered. So if people were planning to fly out of town on President's Day, it may not happen. But we're here nonetheless to prove the old saying that everybody's got a story to tell.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a story to tell. I wasn't the first person that said that, but Calvin and I have proven that down through the years. No matter who you talk to, people have stories to tell. Great talents, great memories, great pieces of North Country history. Here's a guy who's not old enough to have a lot of history. But we're at the home of David Monette at 22 South Platte Street. How are you, David?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Thank you for inviting us into your home today.
No problem.
The first thing I did, since I'm fascinated by old houses, was walk in and say, wow, I love this house. And you said it's well over 100 years old, I believe.
Yep. It's I'm not really sure exactly the age, but it's at least 100 years old.
How long have you been here?
Well, in March will make a year.
Cool.
Yeah, make a year in March.
All right, a celebration. It's interesting. When they say a fixer-upper, they aren't kidding, are they?
No. we put some work into it, but we still have a long way to go, of course, but never really happy until it's 10 years or down the road and you
Just
got everything.
so people are driving by here and look at the front of this house. Describe this house the way you.
Oh, it's got a river rock front porch. It's a brick house with a mansard roof.
Mansard roof. We were discussing that when we came here.
Yeah.
Has its caveats and its pluses too.
Yeah, it's nice because it gives you a full second story, but it's kind of not nice because you're limited as to what you can put on the put for roofing material.
Yeah.
You know, but it's nice. We like it.
It's fun. It's a great spot in town. Fox Hill has a wonderful history, as we were discussing before the cameras rolled, about how I tried to investigate the origins of Fox Hill and how it first got named. But it's a fun part of town. It's got a great history dating back to the post-Civil War Reconstruction area or time in our country.
Yep.
But you're an artist.
Yes, I am. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I was just looking around this room, and of course I like to draw. The first time I saw this picture behind, I don't know if you can get it without glare. The first time I saw that when I walked in, I told David I'm embarrassed ever to draw again. You are,
shouldn't feel like that.
now what do you call yourself, graphic designer?
No, I'm a science fiction and fantasy illustrator.
See that, Calvin?
Yeah.
Science fiction and fantasy illustrator.
Yep. I paint book covers, magazine covers. I paint playing cards for kids' games and stuff like that. So actually, some of these paintings are ones that are for kids' games, like a magic game that they play with at lunchtime. Kids in high school play it and stuff like that.
I love to interview artists because I'm interested in trying to discover where creativity comes from. And, you know, I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination in any sense of the word. But when I write and when I draw, I'm always fascinated as to where that comes from. Did you start drawing as a small child?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was probably, God, I can't even, my brothers and I would sit around the kitchen table and just draw. We've always just been drawing. I can remember my second grade teacher, Mrs. Racine, she bought me a drawing pad, and because she was tired of me doodling on my my test papers and stuff like that. So I remember that. So yeah, I've always just basically been drawing ever since I was a little kid.
You know, it's very interesting because I'm doing a tribute to a poem written by a pilot during the Second World War called High Flight. It's an absolutely beautiful poem, a 14-line sonnet written and inspired, talk about creativity, when he was flying a brand new model of this famous Spitfire airplane, Spitfire 5 at 30,000 feet, and all of a sudden the lines to that poem started coming into his head. He started it up there in his mind, and when he landed, he finished the poem, sent it to his parents in a letter, was widely published. A very short time later, He was killed in a mid-air collision.
Huh.
The poem has survived, although it's not widely known by people who aren't in the Air Force, I guess. I plan to talk about it. The reason I mention it here is because I was thinking and preparing to write this column about how when I was a little kid in the 1940s, my dad was a minister, and I think I've told this on the air before. In every church we ever went to, my mother would give me a pencil. She wasn't one of those nice people who let me have a pad, but a pencil, and the nearest thing for me to draw in was the flyleaves of the hymn books in the church.
Right.
So somewhere, if they still exist in museums, are millions of pictures of World War II airplanes that I drew in hymn books way back when.
Yep.
What were the first things you drew?
Dinosaurs. I used to love
Isn't
dinosaurs.
that incredible.
Yep.
You and I know a lot of people who are fascinated by dinosaurs. I know a little boy who's only about 6 years old who is so fascinated by dinosaurs he can't think of anything else in his life.
That's the way I was.
So
when I was
he
a kid.
draws dinosaurs
Yep.
over and over and over
Yep.
again.
And you can see, well, like in that painting you just pointed out, you can see that there's aspects of my dinosaur drawing when I was a kid, you know, and it just turned into, because dinosaurs are basically, when you think about wanting to draw them, it's fantasy, you know. I mean, I know it's based in reality, but it's still, it's got, you know, you have to imagine what they would look like. So it translates into, you know, drawing dragons, you know, it's the same. And that's what they used to think they were in the Middle Ages,
Of course.
you know, so.
Dragons are wonderful. Don't misunderstand me. I love them. And I've known lots of people and met fascinating people who love to draw dragons. But you don't know if there's any other inspiration for the dragons, like Dragons and Dungeons and Dragons and...
I'm sure it was, you know, it's all from the bones of dinosaurs, you know, and they found fossils in the Middle Ages and even in China, and it translated into stories about them, and then just like any myth that had a basis in reality, which is kind of neat.
Were your parents supportive in the beginning, or?
Yeah, definitely. They used to bring, we had always had papers and pencils and could draw as much as we wanted to, and they always loved to see us draw, you know.
And when did you start painting?
Probably in high school was when I first started painting, and I actually didn't like it very much. I went from pen and ink to acrylics, and then from acrylics to oil paintings, and
It's generally a process.
yeah,
People
usually
don't
it
start
is.
painting, they
Yeah.
normally start drawing.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the first step. But and I've always just stuck with oil paints after that. That's my favorite medium to work in.
Reading about some of the famous artists who drew hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things, and maybe in their lifetime only had 15 paintings
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
drew.
Yeah.
know,
If I could afford you know, to be able to be like that, it'd be great. But I have to make a few more paintings than that in order to make a living.
David, before we get into the real meat and potatoes of the artwork, where were you born and brought up? Right here or in Champlain?
Yeah, in
or-
Champlain. Yep, right in Champlain. Born in Plattsburgh, brought up in Champlain.
Monette's a fairly common North Country name. We were just talking about our friend Dr. Sylvie Baudreau at the college, who pointed out over and over again how these names change. Your name wasn't always Monette down through history.
Yeah, down through history, it's just changed from Monet, Manet. It's all the same family all the way back to France and wherever it was before
It's fun to
then.
track it down, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, it gets kind of hazy in the as time goes on. It's harder and harder to find your.
You went to
origins.
Northeastern,
Yes, yep.
graduated in...
Graduated in 1988. I had Mrs. Eldred as an art teacher, and I'm sure I gave her a hard time when I was a child. But I every now and then I go every now and then I go back to the school, and I like to bring my paintings and show the kids, you know, the type of artwork that I'm doing now, and you know that you can make a living doing artwork. You know, it's always good for kids to know, because when I was in high school, I never knew, you know, that you could actually make money at it. You know.
After high school, what?
I went to Mohawk Valley Community College in
Yes.
Utica, and I got my associate's degree in advertising design, and then I went to Syracuse University where I got my bachelor's in illustration.
So you had a plan very early. You're one
No.
of those. You didn't?
No.
It
When I
sounded
graduated
like
high
you
school,
had a plan.
when I graduated high school, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew was vaguely interested in doing artwork, but I had no, you know, I knew I liked to draw, but I really didn't know that I could I could make money at it. So when I went to Mohawk Valley, like I said, I went in advertising design. I took a few courses in illustration, and my professor told me that, I was just as good as any of the artists that were out there, and that really gave me the impetus to want to go to Syracuse and get my illustration degree. So I've had a lot of nice people telling me, throughout time, things to do.
It's important to have people who recognize your talent and inspire you.
Yeah, it is.
And they're very often teachers, parents, but teachers.
Yep. Teachers play a big part in it, definitely. And that's why I like to bring my stuff back and show kids, to help them make a decision, and something that they're interested in doing, but might not think that there's a market out there for it, And who would think there was a market out there for this stuff?
I would. Calvin and I have had the good fortune of meeting and interviewing a number of artists of various kinds, writers, painters, and others, not the least of whom are Arto Monaco, who built the Land of Make-Believe in Jay. He was a wonderful artist, going to be 90 years old pretty soon. We're going to pause for just a moment and continue. We paused for a moment when the phone rang. I mean, this is hometown cable. Just about anything can happen in the process of this. So you left Syracuse.
Yeah, I left Syracuse and just basically started trying to market my artwork. And it took a while before I got my first actual published piece, but after that it just sort of got easier and easier to do.
It requires persistence,
yes,
no matter how talented you are, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's like writing, and I have so many things that I write that I want to get published, and it's easy to get discouraged.
It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to not want to do it, but I guess I'm too stubborn to give up.
I'm sure those who have watched this program on a regular basis have already noticed that David has fantastic timbre to his voice. And I can just picture him doing a international show on public television like some of these guys some of them are very talented and some not so talented, but they teach and talk at the same time.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about combining your voice with your
sort of be like Bob
artwork?
Ross?
Yeah.
No, I never actually thought
These
of that.
guys make big bucks doing that.
Yes, that's probably true. That is true.
You never tried radio announcing or anything
No.
like that in school?
Nope.
You do have a wonderful natural voice, but you just speak so easily, it just comes naturally, that's all. All right, so what was the first piece you ever made 5 cents on?
That would be probably a black and white drawing that I did for Alfred Hitchcock magazine.
No kidding.
Yeah, I've got I do.
It's in the stack somewhere, is that what you're telling me?
Yep, I've got some, it's something like this, just a little vignette like that it's one of the things that I did right there. And just a piece like that. Made $150 at it.
Cool.
Quite happy to get that.
So you started your first piece you made money for was with a magazine.
Yep.
You just submit it? Oh, how do you
Well,
do
no,
that?
basically, I've got I make up postcards of my work, and I send them. I did a lot of research and accumulated a mailing list of art directors and publishers, and I send my postcards out to them. And if they like my work, they like the postcard, they'll give me a call, and if they don't, then I just keep sending the postcards, I guess. But yeah, so I sent Alfred Hitchcock a postcard as well as like 200 others to other publishers, and they gave me a call back, said they liked my black and white work and wanted to hire me for a job.
How do you make the postcards? You mean you scan your painting, or how do you do it?
What I do, I'll take a painting like any one of these actually, and I mail it to this place called Jelly Bean in New York City, and they take what's called a transparency, which is basically it's a color slide, and it's got a color code on the side, so they can so that when they do make a postcard of it, they can they have all the color separations already done. And I take the transparency and I mail it to Modern Postcard in California.
Oh.
And I just had some done actually. Just had some sent back to me, and they make the postcard. They make 500 postcards for $100 and something.
Wow.
And they're really very nice quality postcards. And then from there, I have all my mailing lists is saved on my computer, so I just print it out onto some stickers and send them out.
You have to study the business before you can ever get started.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta know what they're going to want, and you gotta know who is out there that publishes the stuff, and that takes a little research. But if you're sort of into doing science fiction and fantasy stuff, you sort of know who the publishers are, and then it's just a matter of learning the art directors' names, making a lot of phone calls, and finding out who's who, and sending out portfolios and stuff like that.
Now, you're a pretty young guy. I would like to have you describe for me what different kinds of organizations you've become hooked up with besides the Alfred Hitchcock magazine.
Oh, I've done work for, like I said, I think I told you in the beginning, Magic. They're Wizards of the Coast actually produces that, and they produce the Dungeons and Dragons line and stuff like that. So I've done work for them. I've done module covers for Troll Lord Games. It's another gaming company. I've done stuff for Dune. The movie Dune. Remember that?
Oh yes.
I've done cards for them. Different book series. The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Star Trek. I've done stuff for them. I've done stuff for Lord of the Rings. J.R.R. Tolkien. They also had a card set. Yeah. Yep. So quite a few different places.
Now, there's a big difference between drawing for your own pleasure, painting for your own pleasure, and then doing something according to a prescription that's given to you by somebody else.
Yeah. Well, usually what they'll do, like say an art director like my work, and he gave me a call, and he's got a book cover or something that he wants me to do. What he'll do is tell me what he wants to see. Like either if I get an email, he'll describe a scene that he wants me to illustrate, and then I make up a sketch and I send it to him, and he says it's not good enough, so I send him another one, and then he likes that one, and finally we end up coming to a consensus on what the sketch should look like, and I take photographs of my friends and family and dress them up as characters. And,
oh, come on!
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yes, I do. That's how you get realism, And like actually, this is I think that's my brother John right there.
Your brother John has that little mustache, does he?
No, he doesn't. All this stuff, it's just you do it for shadows. You have to get to make sure that everything's in its proper proportion, like as far as what the body looks like. And I have this shield. This was a broom. He had a cloak on and all that good stuff. And I sit him in a saddle. I actually have a saddle that I
How does it keep from laughing?
Nah, well,
I
take a lot of pictures.
Oh man, you have no model for the creature. That had to come out of your head.
That came out of my head.
That's his father.
Oh, that's his father. Now, did you draw this for a commercial reason, or was this?
No, this one you can usually tell ones that I've done for like a magazine or something because there's a lot of room left on the top for type. Like actually see that one right there?
Yes.
That one.
I don't know if Calvin can get a good shot of it. Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of room up there because what they want to do is they want to put it into.
Oh,
They have to put type over it.
Here it is, right here.
Yeah. So you can usually tell the ones that I've done for somebody else. When I do them for myself, I do them. You can usually see that there's no space.
In this
above.
particular case, somebody told you precisely what they wanted on the cover, or did you have some license?
I had some license. Yeah, pretty much. Something like this, like a magazine, it's pretty easy to, you don't really have to it's not too strictured, especially with this one. These guys are really easy to deal with.
I can picture an awful lot of young people and a lot of old codgers like myself who are excited by coming in here and meeting a guy like you to realize that, yeah, you can make money drawing and painting.
Yeah.
But I imagine there are some lean months and lean weeks.
Oh
and
yeah,
lean
definitely.
years.
I mean, I have a part-time job right now that has to get me through whenever it's lean, and to help me purchase stuff. But it's always a means to an end, I mean, I need a part-time job so I can get.
I saw you going by in a UPS truck.
Yes. Maybe not me, but I work maybe inside the building. But I mean,
okay, I'm just kidding.
it's for.
I knew you worked part-time for UPS.
Yep. But to get like things like benefits, medical benefits and stuff like that. I mean, You know, it's always good to have something as a standby, and plus it's good so I don't have to pay quarterly taxes. They take it out of me at UPS, and I don't have to worry about it here.
Before we start really looking at some of your artwork, tell me how many hours a day or a week you might spend.
It depends. If I'm doing something like a job, then I will work
Constantly.
as much as I have to in order to get it done for the deadline. But if it's something on my own like this, actually, it takes. I've just been doing this on my own for like 3 weeks now, but that's only because I have the time and I can put as much detail as I want into it. You know.
Is this going to be color? This is amazing. I
Yeah.
think Calvin, you get a good shot of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
This. Well, basically, what I do. I'll do a sketch like this, and I'll do a fully realized sketch, which means it's all the tones are in it. You can see all the shading is already done, and I'll take this down to what's that place on Margaret Street? They do the printing. I can never remember the name of it. Heritage Printing, and they have a blueprint photocopier there, and which I can have a sketch like this as large as I want, pretty much within reason, and they'll make a copy of it for me on their blueprint machine. And I'll take that, and I will take the copy and adhere it onto what's called masonite. It's just a thick board, very stiff. And I adhere it onto the surface, and when that's done, you can see all the shading's already done for me. So at that point, it's more like paint by numbers. I know what colors I want to use.
You may convince others that it's like paint by numbers. I know better, David. This is an incredible scene.
Mm-hmm.
How did you conceive of this scene? This
Well,
is amazing. This blows my mind.
What I really wanted, I never had a battle scene of fantasy characters, and I wanted to make a scene that showed, a lot of action with a lot of fighting going on. And it's basically a portfolio piece. It's something, like when I think of something that I want to do on my own, I think of what I want in my portfolio, what's missing, and then I'll make a painting, according to that, and stick it in there.
That is absolutely beautiful. You spent, what, couple of weeks, you said?
Yeah, a couple of weeks. But a lot of that time, like, remember I said that I dressed my friends up and my family as characters? I didn't do that for this one because I just wanted to see if I could carry the figures on my own without help from a photograph. And I think I'm very happy with how the characters look in it and everything, so I think I might have been able to pull it off and fool everyone.
Do you envision using this in any commercial way, or just...
Well, there's an art show that I'm going to in New York in March, and if I have this done by then, I'll probably bring it there and see if I can sell it. But, who knows if I'll have it done by that time.
That's got to be difficult when you do something that you would consider your own personal masterpiece. And you're in this business to make money, to say, yeah, I'll let that go if the price is right. Have you ever had a problem with...
I've had a problem putting prices on them because I never know how much to ask. People will only pay for, it's only worth what somebody's going to pay for it. And I don't know what somebody wants to pay for, a painting of mine, because I'm not Rembrandt.
Monet.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Monet, yeah, perfect.
But, I put $1,000 price tags on my paintings, and I've actually sold one, so I was pretty pleased with that.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah. So, if something like this, I'd probably ask for $1,000 more than likely, but
Yeah.
whether I get it or not is up to...
Well, when you
public.
consider the number of hours,
Yeah.
you might make $1.75 an hour by
That's
the time
true.
you finish
That's
at
true.
$1,000.
Oh, well.
I found that very often creative people are not good business people, but
That's probably true, yeah.
You're in this business alone, you do have to learn a little bit about how to run a business.
Yeah, you do. I'm actually looking for an agent, to handle my artwork, to show to publishers and stuff like that. So it makes it a lot easier for me.
That's the way it is in the literary world as well,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a step that I haven't yet taken, because agents in this part of the country, at least for literary work, are few and far between.
Yeah, I wouldn't be getting one that's based in this area. I'd probably be getting one based out of New York. That's where all the big publishing houses are, and
So you have to do a little legwork then, don't you?
a little bit,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Shows, how many a year?
I do one down in New York, in March, and I'm thinking about doing another one. There's one in Philadelphia that I was thinking about going to this year, but it depends. I mean, it takes time and it takes, takes money, so we'll see.
Did you have, when you started painting seriously after college, did you have an idea where you wanted to be in,
Not really.
8 years, 10 years, 5
No,
years?
I've never placed that on myself.
Just go
Yeah.
for it and see what unfolds.
Yeah,
Huh?
I know this is what I want to do, and however long it takes, there's only so many things you have control of in your life, and I decided it was going to be one of them,
As I said before, it blows me away. You have a tremendous talent,
Thank you.
and I would like to have you show some of your pieces here and tell me a little bit about how they evolved.
Okay, well, we could start with this one right here. This is just, I did this one a long time ago. And you know what? You could probably tell by the signatures if you look really close, because my signatures have evolved, and that's pretty much how you can tell.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You haven't settled on something yet?
Actually, now I have, but before, when you don't know, you're
Yeah.
just, you have, when you're just starting out, it's like you got to find a signature that you really like, and I never found one until maybe the past couple years ago that I liked. But actually, this painting, this is one of my brothers. Again, that's my brother John, and that full beard there.
I love it.
Yep, and I think that's me, right there. I had my brothers take my photo. Yep, and
I can actually see the resemblance now that you said that, but I
Yeah,
would
of
never
course.
have known that before.
But yeah, that's and this painting was done on. Yeah, that was done on Masonite as well. So that's just one of and then this painting took me a very long time to do, because I had to get all this delicate work in here on the chainmail.
That's very true. For
I drew
people.
each individual little piece.
Did
So
you
that was,
really?
Yep, that was a hard thing to do.
And when would this be, David?
What's that?
How long ago did you do that one, do you think?
That's probably 8 years ago. And I think, too, you can tell that my style has developed more as I go along, because I'm much more polished now. Because if you stick your nose right up to this, you can see brush marks. You can see, like in the face, you'll be able to see that there's actual, paint that has been applied. But in my newer stuff, it's more glazed. It's very I've just different techniques that I've used over time or have developed. Like the paint's thicker, you can see the brush strokes in here. And now, when I work now, I use a lot of what's called glazing to build up the color, so that I don't have to use such thick paint to establish a dark color, And it's just one of the things that you learn as you go along.
Oh, that's great. All right,
Yep.
next.
And this right here was done for a
Can you
magazine.
get a shot of that?
Yep.
That's a little bit.
Yep, this was done for a magazine. It's called Demon Shield.
The magazine is called Demon Shield?
No, the painting. I call the
Oh,
painting Demon
okay.
Shield. And basically, it's just a wizard summoning up a spiral of demons that are swirling around him. And I made it as I wanted to, basically, with complete leeway. And that's me.
Is it really?
Yep,
Again?
Yep.
All right.
I had my girlfriend take my photo. And this was made probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And again, you can see, you probably, not with the camera, but you can see when you're looking at it that there's striations in the color that indicate that it was in something that it was older for me,
Can't
That's
see
pretty
your
much
signature on that one. Is it hidden?
Sometimes I hide them. Oh yeah, it's right here actually. That's an older.
Okay.
Yeah, you can tell it's sort of older. And then actually, yeah, because you can look at that one and then you look at this one, and this is something that I've just.
Now, who owns that rights to that picture now?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I do.
You sell them the right?
Yeah, they only get the first time publishing rights, usually. Like on this book cover that I did for Clive Cussler. He owns the painting, Clive Cussler. I sold it to the publisher, and the Clive Cussler saw it in his wherever his publishing house is, and he liked the painting, and now it's sitting in Clive Cussler's living room.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Well, what is that picture?
It's a diver. It's not as much of a fantasy one, but it's more like just a reality based photo or a painting that I had done for them. But yep, that's a
Oh, that's
Clive
that's
Cussler.
neat.
But like I was saying on this, you can see. Well, there's my new signature now.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you can see how like it's very almost like a photo, you know. And you can't. The background is very polished, very smooth, and that's how I achieve that through just glazing on the painting. And like right in here on his sleeves, that's a dark color, but you can't tell that there's a lot of paint applied there, because when you apply a glaze and let it dry, then you put more paint on top of it, it creates a nice saturated dark color. And the same thing for all his tunic and everything behind him.
This is fairly recent then.
Yep. I just did this within a year, I think. I did this one.
Was this for somebody else or for your own pleasure?
You can tell this is mine. It's got no
Yeah,
room
I
for
see
type
what you
on the
mean.
top.
Okay, I remember what you told me. So you haven't
Yeah.
sold it yet.
No. Actually, I'm bringing this to New York with me. I've got a bunch of paintings that I just thought have all framed up, and I'm bringing that one with me.
All right, go ahead.
Let me ask a question though. Why wouldn't you paint it in the style that it could be used in the future in a magazine, even though it's for you?
Because I do well, that's a good point. I did it with this one. This was one I just did on my own, and it's just sometimes when I'm doing something, I just want to,
wanna do it.
yeah, I like the composition as this, and I don't think this would look as good as this. You know what I mean? And it's just a conceptual thing that I had at the time. And this is a great painting. This is my friends. I dressed them up as you see them, and we went out into the woods and lit a fire and had them sit around it and pose, and I just drew them up like that. Yep.
Somebody comes upon this entourage in the middle of the woods. They say, "Oh,
I'd be a little freaked
no."
out. But then they didn't see me with my camera and my tripod set up, so they might not be too scared. But I wanted to get something that had. I love the way that firelight looks outside.
Doesn't
And
everybody?
Yeah, I had done a painting when I was in high school of my father sitting by the fire, and I wanted that same light. I wanted the same color, and I didn't quite get it here. I'm not as happy with this painting as I could be, but I do like the light. I do like the darkness of it.
Is that fairly recent too, David?
Yep.
Is
Yep.
it?
You can see my little name down.
Oh, yeah. I think you got it. You got the name right now. All right, let's go right around here. What else have we got?
Well, this one right here I did for J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth card series. It's basically it's a painting that has. I don't know if you're familiar at all with the movie that has just been released, but
Nope.
this was done before the movie, and it's for a playing card series. The little cards that are like this size. These are all my cards in here that I've done for people over time.
Oh, wow.
And it's a card like this, and they give you a description of the scene that they want to see, and I send them a sketch and do a painting based off that. Little painting. I've got a stack of them right there that you can see that I've done for various card gaming companies over the past few years.
Tremendous fascination with cards, aren't there?
Yeah,
All cards.
yeah, and I'm very glad because that's where a lot of my work comes from is the card gaming companies and stuff like that. They're the ones that that's a lot of cards right there.
Yeah, let me look here a little bit.
And basically, this whole pile is cards that I've done for people over time, and I'd have probably.
Yeah, take a few out of
Twice-
there. I just wanna
I'd
take
have
out-
probably
give
twice
us
as
an
many.
example for Calvin to see.
Okay. Let's see, like this one right here.
Pick a card.
Yeah, pick a card, any card.
Dancing Spire. This is one that I did. Actually, we could find that one right there if I could flip through them and find them. But these are just tons of different cards that I've done. There's that one. Actually, is this one right here? I'm gonna frame.
Now,
it.
would this start as a full-size painting, David, or what?
Yeah.
She's got it here.
Yeah.
that's
It's basically this one right here is this one right here.
Oh, wow.
Yep. That's what they do. I'm framing this one up and bringing that to New York with me. See if I can sell it.
That's really
I should be
cool.
able to. But yeah, there's tons of different cards. Tons
So
of.
that's drawn on the
Yeah,
on the,
this
right
is.
on the board.
Well, yeah, you can actually you can see. This is the masonite, and you can see where the paper was
Just glue it
adhered.
right on.
It's like a glue. It's an acrylic based medium that I use to adhere it, and it's nice because it's clear. You know, I can paint this. When I adhere this on there, I paint the acrylic medium over the top of it, and it dries clear, so it seals it, so that over time it won't yellow or anything like
I
that.
see.
And the paper's acid free, so over time it won't yellow and it won't get old.
That's your favorite way to do it?
Yeah, I think so. It's easier like that because if when I can get all the tones established and I don't have to worry about how I want the light to be hitting something, or you can pretty much the painting's realized here. And like I said, just when it comes to putting down the color, it's just paint by numbers. I have an idea of already how I want
It
everything
always
to look.
starts with the sketch.
Yep. Starts with the sketch and then.
Which is always done in ink?
No, it's basically it's just done with pencil.
Well, this is pencil?
Yep. That's a
Gotta
pencil
be
sketch.
kidding.
Yeah, I really like. I mean, all my sketches are. All my sketches are right in here, or a lot of them are actually. I was I was throwing them away until my girlfriend told me to stop doing
Oh, my
them.
goodness, no.
But,
Michelangelo would say, never
yeah.
throw your sketches away.
Let's see, like this right here. This is the sketch for that painting that I did,
Oh, my goodness.
and it makes it so much easier when you have that done like that, because you can see right where all the light and shade is, and it makes it simple.
Wow.
And this is the fun part for me. I love doing the sketches. Doing the sketches is when you come to actually doing the painting, it's not anywhere near as fun. And this is this is one called Dwarf Gate. My parents have that painting. I start to run out of room, and I start to have to give my paintings away to people.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that you keep all the sketches.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely essential.
Yep. And like this painting back here, this is for Middle Earth, J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings stuff. This painting, I'm bringing this to New York with me as well. Some of these you can see that on like a painting like this or like that, I'll have 2 or 3 days to do it in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from when they give me the project to the end of the project. They'll give me like 5 or 6 cards to do, and then they'll say they want it in a month. So you figured out I have to time everything out, and it comes to 2 to 3 days to do a painting. It's not very much time at all. So I drink
So
a
you
lot
have to call
of coffee.
UPS and say, I'm really sick this week.
Yeah, I just drink a lot of coffee.
But you know what? I think that's a good thing to point out for the young people who are would-be artists, that once the juices start to flow, it's hard to shut them off.
Yeah.
Right? I imagine you get short sleep sometime once you really get cranky.
Yeah, definitely. But it's just, for me, I'm just if somebody gives me a deadline, that's the name of the game. If you can't make it by the deadline, you won't get another call. So it's either stay up 24 hours until the painting's done, or you send it in 3 days late and you don't get called back. So it's worth it to put the time in and to stay up all night if you have to get something done.
I wonder what your competition is.
The-
Should we move over this way a little bit, Calvin? I wonder tell me, David, what your competition is. How many people are doing this kind of thing?
Unfortunately, Unfortunately, there's a lot of them, and it's a lot of guys who are. There's young guys coming up like me, but there's a lot of guys who've been in the business for a long time, and have the contacts already. So it's a really hard business to break into, because there are a lot of dinosaurs out there that keep doing it.
Well, but the interesting part of it is, and I mentioned a few names like Sid Cauchi, who's a good friend of ours, and Ardo Monaco, and these guys in their 80s and early 90s who seem to draw as well today as they did when they were in their 20s, in some cases even better, and that amazes me.
Yeah.
So you see what you got in store for yourself. Huh?
Yeah, but then again though, you can see that I've got a lot of time to do it.
Yeah.
And I can never see myself retiring from it. Just like they don't.
Why would you ever want to?
Yeah, I know. It's
And
not
just
anything.
hope that you stay healthy.
Yeah.
So you have the energy, because it
That's true.
requires a great deal of energy.
Yep. Yeah.
There are
certainly
people
does.
who are watching this saying, well, how tired can you get drawing a picture? Guess what? You see how he laughed?
Yeah.
You can be so mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
Especially when the concept doesn't quite come together in the beginning. Huh?
Yeah, but usually in the beginning though is when I give myself the most time to, like, when I'm doing a sketch, I don't have to. I think, oh, I have a week to do a painting, and that's plenty of time. So I'll take 5 days to do the sketch. But when it actually comes down to the painting, I think, oh, I can get the sky done today, easy, no problem. And it comes to doing sky, and then all of a sudden, oh, I didn't quite get the sky done, so I'll have to work on it tomorrow. And then everything gets pushed back until it's a day before it has to be due, and I still have a figure to do, which that's a lot of work. So you end up you get down to the wire, and all of a sudden you have a lot of stuff that needs to be done, and that's when all the time catches up to you.
Give us a little primer here. Would you like to move a little more, Calvin? Get out of your... Calvin's back in a corner, so we'll pause for just a moment. Before Calvin hit the button, he said, we started laughing uproariously. But what does your father think of this likeness of himself?
I think he likes it. I didn't make him look like an old man. I made him look like he looks, and he was very happy with it. I didn't give him a big nose. I didn't make him look like a creature.
This is really, really neat. Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, basically, you can tell that I did this for myself, and you know, I wanted to. It was winter at the time, and I love the way that fog sometimes in wintertime looks, and I wanted to try to get that across in a painting, and you know, I came up with this idea of a ranger type character protecting a girl from people hunting him, and you know, I figured that my dad has a very you know, very weathered look, and
That's very kind of you to put it that
yeah,
way.
well, but he's got a very distinctive face, and I wanted to capture it. And so I took him and my girlfriend Tammy out to this big tree that I knew of next to my parents'
You
house.
actually set it all up, huh?
Yeah, yep. And I dressed them all up in their cloaks and their attire here, and the sword and everything, and stood out in the freezing cold and took pictures of them. Because you can't. I mean, when you look at a tree, you think that they're brown, but when you really look at it and want to translate that into a painting, it's not. There is brown in it, but to have it fit into this landscape, there's a lot of bluish gray to a tree in the winter with that light, and
You get a lot of different shades in that tree now that you mention it.
yeah. But that's why photographs are an integral process of my painting. You know, especially, I mean, when you think of drawing a tree, you think that it's an easy thing to do, but it's really not when you get right down to it. It's like anything. It's like a human face. There's so many nuances in the skin. There's blue, there's green, there's red. You know, to get the noses right and the coldness of how cold it was. Their skin very pale with the red showing through. You can sort of get how cold it was.
Are all these characters yours, or are they
Yeah.
taken from something else?
No, those are mine. I didn't take photos for those. Usually when it's a monster or something like that is based on the human form, I can get away with drawing it on my own without taking a photo of it, because, you know, like no normal person has an arm that long, so I don't have to worry about proportion and stuff like that. So it's pretty easy for me to. And plus, I knew they were going to be in the background, and that they were going to be washed out, because what I did was I had this whole background painted the way I wanted it to look, and then I took a glaze of a bluish white, and I glazed it over it, and it knocked it all back into the background and made it look like it was, you know, in the distance more. And so that when you look at this, it's all sharp and nice, but these guys all have a glaze on them.
This isn't something you necessarily studied how to do at Syracuse either, huh?
No, well, like that thing I just mentioned, that I've had professors mention glazing. You know, I've had them talk about doing that, but I never did it because it always used to scare me. You know, to cover a finished piece with a glaze is a very, you know, It's like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it or not. But once you do it and it comes out and it comes out and looks like that, then it's worth it.
Stark contrast, and that's what
Three-dimensional look.
it certainly
Yeah.
does.
Yeah,
It
that's
really,
what you
really
want.
does.
Yep.
So this is your first effort at this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. I've used it like on the painting over by the wall over here. I've used it on small areas.
Oh, I
You
see.
can see where. Let Calvin get in there.
By the window.
You can see like right here where I've used it. Where I've used it in small areas, like on the I'll finish a cliff, and then I'll put in once this whole background was done, I go in and with a glaze, and I would work a small area to show the mist coming up, you know. And I guess I went from you can see it right here too. I knocked this back right here and around their feet, you know, just little things like that. And once I felt more comfortable with doing it in small areas, and when it comes to something like this, I'm still scared, but not as much because I've already done it once.
This is really great. There's so much going on in this painting. Tell me a little bit about it.
Basically, this was one of my own things. I had read a book, and I loved the idea of the battle scene and where it took place. It was all in this underground ruined kingdom that had fallen through the crust of the earth, and the main character was fighting this lizard-like creature down in this. And they had a pool in back of them, and I don't know, the scene just captured my imagination, and I just wanted to use it as a painting. I could see it, and that's what I decided to do. And they were being observed by a little dwarf-like character, so I like sticking it like I think actually remember we were talking about Remington. He always stuck a wagon wheel
Of course.
in the corner, and it immediately establishes perspective when you do something like that, because it looks, you know, this is a large thing in the corner, and it gives that a 3D quality. You know, it goes like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. You know, so it automatically gives you a sense of depth.
I don't know if our viewers have noticed the smaller characters in here. Is she tied?
Yep, they're tied to the posts. They were prisoners while having to watch the duel.
So this is pretty true to the script of that.
Yeah,
book
yeah,
you
and it's
read.
usually how it is with when you do a book cover, you do a magazine cover, more books and magazines, and more like even when you do the cards, it's usually a scene that they want you to illustrate something from the book that captures the, you know, the feel of the narrative.
So when you read this book, I'm just trying to explain the process to our viewers. Did this whole picture show up in your head? Or how? The evolution of it. I'm trying
Well, when I read it, you know when you're reading a
Of
passage,
course, imagination.
you have
Sure.
a picture in your head of how you want things to look, and I knew that I wanted to show the immensity of this underground place, and I wanted to, and there was water coming through all the collapsed buildings, and you know, I knew I wanted to get that feel, and I wanted to draw, like, to get the architecture and stuff like that of this old kingdom, and I wanted it to look all crumbled and old.
So you might have had an actual snapshot in your head.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah.
Look at the tiny work up here.
Yep.
You know, a good painting gives you new things every time you look at it. You know?
People tell me they see faces in this stuff all the time, and I'm like, I guess. If that's what you
Okay,
see.
whatever you want.
I
If
didn't-
you buy it, I'll put it.
There's nothing intentional in there. I didn't do that on purpose.
Have you ever tried to do that? Be a little subtle and hide something?
Well, the most subtle I get is hiding my name. I don't know.
Don't hide it too
Like,
much.
I don't really know where I put it. Actually, in this one, I knew I hit it really. Oh, there it is, right along the side, right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And
actually, I think
it'll be a little harder to find for the
what the
art
heck?
experts in the
I'm
year 3010.
I think on this one I hit it very well. Yeah, you can see it's in the tree.
All right.
It's right in there.
Oh, wow.
Barely see that.
I don't know if Calvin, I can see it now, but I never would have found it before. So
Ah.
that's pretty subtle. That's good.
Yep. And yeah.
Did you have to write it in the tree when you took the picture, or?
No. Give me a little credit.
I see you got the signature down pat, and I'm I'm fascinated with how the general public, little people and big people, are so attracted to this fantasy world that you're very, very much involved in.
Yep.
It's not something new. Let's go this way. It's not something brand new. It's been
Oh no.
it's been going on for hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years.
Grimm's fairy tales.
But Grimm's fairy tales are a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
But right now there's so much artwork in the world,
It's-
literary things, paintings that focus on it that are really attractive. I mean,
It's
Harry Potter
it's-
series,
yeah.
for example.
Yeah, it's basically escapism. You know, people's day-to-day lives are, you know, they might be mundane or they might be, you know, not exciting. And when you read a book of heroic people doing heroic things, you know, it sort of galvanizes you, makes it easier to get from day to day. You know, and to have someone draw those scenes is why, you know, people hire me.
I love it,
basically
and
it.
let's hope lots of people will. Maybe not because of this program, but because of all the other work you're doing. Let's talk about some of the other stuff you
Right.
have
This
here.
is these were actually this one was done for Magic, and actually you can see the little cards next to them. I did it up like that so that when I go to art shows and stuff, I can bring them
You
and
can see how-
people can see, you know, what it looks like. And actually, I think it looks so much better in, you know, the real one looks so much better than the actual the card.
Yep.
But in illustration, I always had a professor that told me that this is the finished product, not this. That, you know, your artwork wasn't, if you're an illustrator, your artwork wasn't done until it was in this form. And I don't
You
know.
can
if I
still like the other one better.
No, I still like it better. I guess he might have been right about that.
And you can also like the one that pays you the most money, too. So.
Yeah, that's true. And that one was done for Magic, and so was this one right here. And you can see that it's basically they had me do the same. That robe right there is the same as the robe that the character's wearing right there.
Why are the colors so different from the card, from the painting to the card?
Well, usually like, oh, you mean the
The actual color of the robe is different.
right? It's just in production. That's just how it's not a.
That doesn't bother you?
There's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, you're a
I mean,
fatalist.
It
huh?
does bother me,
Whatever
but
happens,
what are you gonna do?
nothing.
You know, I mean,
I just wondered if that was part of the part of the production process. That
yeah, I think it is. I mean, they can't. It's not a perfect process. It's getting more and more perfect as
Is
with
it?
computers and stuff. But I mean, that's about as close as they can get in mass production to
Yeah.
copy the color that I made. And actually, it's interesting about colors too, because with this card set, and with most card sets, I got hired from these guys from this green painting in back right there,
all right.
and
All right, we got to put a new battery in the machine just to wonder what that little click was next.
And well, yeah, like what I was saying was, I got this job for these paintings from sending this painting out to the publisher.
Oh, I love it. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, this is so great.
And what attracted
Oh, this is really good.
them to me was that the cards are based on like a color series, like red. They want to make sure that whoever is doing the painting can do a whole painting of green or red or blue, depending on the theme of the cards. So when they got this, they saw that I could work with, you know, a complete green tone and be able to use it, you know, properly.
This is my favorite of everything I've seen so far. This is so cool.
Yep. This is a module cover
Wow.
for Troll Lord Games.
That is so wonderful.
Yep, it came out neat. But yeah, like that's
Now,
how
this
I got
does
the.
look, talk about looking like a photograph.
Yep.
It looks like the background is an actual photograph and you've painted on the photograph.
That's probably the best compliment that you could give me.
It's wonderful. It really, really does.
Yep.
It never ceases to amaze me how brushstrokes can make grass
Mm-hmm.
and leaves.
And leaves.
And I watch people paint with a 4-inch wide painter's brush and make very delicate marks on the canvas.
That's
and
not
it-
me. I use little tiny hairs.
You little teeny one?
Yeah, you can't with a big brush. You're never going to be able to do all that little detail work in
So
there.
was this a concept that somebody told you and you painted it, or is this what you did for yourself and then?
This one actually I did for myself. And
Gosh,
I had sent it out in a
beautiful.
card, and well, yeah, the people that saw it had the same reaction that you do, and
Oh,
they
man.
wanted to put it on a module cover. So that's what I did.
I just love it.
And it's nice too, like when I
just love it.
do something on my own, I send it out, and somebody actually wants to use it. It's like it was, you know, it was. It's free getting the money. I was doing the painting for myself, you know.
But how long ago did you do this? Not an awful long time? Couple
Actually,
years?
no. This was a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, probably. And I don't know. Yeah, my name's down there. You can see it's sort of blocky.
Yeah.
It's
But
sort of blocky.
I can appreciate the detail.
Mm-hmm.
And this picture is just wonderful. And I'm sure our viewers may not be able to see it on television, but there's a great deal of work right here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was probably a day.
That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Do you like it too, as much as I do?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I do.
And it pleases you, and other people like it, I know. But
Oh yeah,
it's just,
definitely.
just a great piece of work.
Yep.
Now, explain a little bit about cards. I'm sure there are some of our senior viewers and others who don't understand the attraction of cards. We talked about it a little earlier in the show and how people like to collect cards.
Yeah.
And kids will collect cards of anything,
They do.
especially
They
if
do.
there's a series started.
Yep. And what's funny is I was looking in a gaming magazine that they have, and that card right there I think is worth $15. It's
No
one of the.
kidding.
It's considered a rare card or something like that. And it's worth a lot
Okay.
of money. Yeah. And it's one of those things. I mean, kids just it's a competitive little card game, you know, and kids like to play it, and they like to collect the cards, and it's just like what Pokemon. And that's the same company that makes
Collect
Magic.
the cards and
Yeah, they
and
like to collect the cards.
trade
and,
the cards
yeah,
and
yeah, just like baseball cards was in their time. It's pretty much how Magic cards are now, except you can actually, you know, use them in a game, you know, when they play with their.
think about baseball cards, and they're still selling, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Selling sets of baseball cards all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the same principle, and there's tons of different card gaming companies out there that I've done work for. You know, like I had said earlier, Dune and J.R. Tolkien. That I've done over 30 paintings for J.R. Tolkien.
Have
know,
you
over their
really?
Card series, yeah, I've done a lot. Yep.
Have you ever? How about movies? Have you ever done any work for movies or thought about doing
See,
backgrounds?
movies now with the computers, I think it's not like it used to be when they were making paintings for movies years ago. You know, like you could see, like Star Wars is a perfect example of that. There's a beautiful painting of the Star Wars thing, but nowadays it's like with how good they can get with. It's different when you're doing a book, because a book has characters in it that can't really be photographed. You know, I mean, they can be but there's a lot that you have to manipulate with a photograph.
Mm-hmm.
But with a movie, there's specific characters in the movie that make up, you know, how the movie looks.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do it in a painting, but why would they want to pay an illustrator when they can just as easily, you know, take a scene or take the posed characters from the movie and actually do it like that, you know? But there are, like, for example, like Star Trek there's tons of books on Star Trek, you know, little fantasy novels on Star Trek, and those are actually done by. I've met one of the illustrators that works on, you know, he's done Star Trek books, the covers, and it's basically a montage of the characters. You can't really. I mean, you could probably take it off of a TV screen or something like that, or manipulate it with a computer, but you know, when he does it, it makes it's so much better. You know, it is the real life characters, but it's different. You know, it's not from a movie; it's for a book. You know, so it's different that way.
So you haven't done anything with computers? You don't put any of your artwork, you don't scan any of it? And
I do. Mostly what I do, like when I made my website, I brought my paintings to my friend Chris Blair. He works at, or he has his own business actually, Chris Blair Multimedia or something like that. But he scans in my paintings for me and puts them on the website. And when he scans them, and he knows how to look for the color and all that kind of stuff. When I see it on the screen, it looks fine to me. But he'll change all around the colors and stuff like that and do all that kind of stuff. And I use a computer to, like, there's some paintings that I've done for module covers that I bring to him. He scans them in, and he actually emails them to the publisher. and that makes them skip a step. They don't have to make it transparency. They
never
just take
thought
it.
of that,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So that's. But I don't have a computer that's thousands of dollars for that computer, and that's why I bring them over to him. But and I use a computer, but not to. Well, actually, no, because for like these characters here that you see here, I drew them in my sketchbook. I scanned them in. I scanned the sketches from my sketchbook onto my computer, and then I printed them out. It's basically like having a photocopier, basically. And then I take the sketches, and I put them in my good old Artograph machine. And basically, what that does, it allows you to make the drawing bigger or smaller. You know, and it projects the image from here onto your paper, and you can when you move it up or down and bring it in and out of focus, it makes it you know, you can have it bigger, smaller, and you can place it wherever you want on your actual paper. It's a very important machine.
It is. You see, I wouldn't have known that unless you just said that.
Yep, it's a very important machine. And you can take photographs, anything. You put them in there, and you know, you turn on the machine, and it will. When the light hits it, it basically creates an image, and the image is reflected down and magnified by a lens, and it's pretty much the way it works. But, you know, not really a computer, but...
Well, yeah, we understand the idea.
Yep.
How about these two down here? We haven't talked about
those were done for J.R. Tolkien. This one is... what was the name of that? Something... There's a volcano in the background anyway, and they wanted me to draw a lava plain leading up to the volcano, and that's basically what I did. But in this is a good example of having reference. Remember, I was talking about the tree. Like, I don't know. I'm sure you have an idea of what a lava field would look like, but try to draw it or try to paint it. That's why I have National Geographics. You know, I look through them and I find lava flowing, and I can, you know, I see what it looks like, so that when it comes to drawing it, I have an idea of how it has to look in order to look real. And the same thing for a volcano, and the same thing for how the smoke looks and everything like that. I've got every year, all the people I know, they get calendars, and I have them save the calendars at the end of the year, because there's beautiful photographs that help me to make a painting look more real, you know. And I have a filing cabinet in my cellar full of all different, like when I see a nice image in a magazine, in a car ad, I'll tear it out and put it in my filing cabinet under Atlantic coasts or something like that, you know. And then certain rocks or something like that I need to, when it comes to drawing a granite cliff, I mean, I know what a granite cliff looks like, but to actually try to paint it is a completely different thing. It might end up looking like a sandstone cliff. You know, it might be brown instead of gray, and who knows what it look. You know, there's a whole bunch of different things. So
I'm so glad you're explaining this to us, because it shows that it's not just, what you do is not just haphazard.
No, there's a lot of research. I mean, especially when it comes to like this figure on this dragon right here. You know, there's a lot of, when it's period based, there's a lot of research you have to do for how the armor is going to look, you know, and that's just one of the things that matters. Like period costume is a hard thing to. That's why I have a bunch of reference books on the Middle Ages and stuff like that. If I ever need to draw somebody in full plate armor, you know, around the 18th or 17th century, I've got reference that I can go to and look up what he looks like, and then pose my friends and family and put the armor on them wherever it's missing from my collection of gear that I have.
You have a collection of
Yes, I do.
cloaks and clothes?
Yes, I do.
How did you go about collecting that?
Just it's funny because, well, like a cloak is basically a wool blanket, and any cloak you'll see on most of my guys is the same old wool blanket that I've had. But I've got another friend that he collects like middle-age armor and swords and stuff like that. So I give him a call when I have something that I need to do, and I root through his pile of his hoard of weapons and stuff, and I pick out something that I want to, you know, have in a painting, and then I go from there. But I've got my own little collection of stuff. ranging from swords to axes to maces, all that good stuff. But he's got most of the armor. He's got all the armor, actually. He's got chainmail, and he's got actually that suit of armor on that Roman armor that you saw earlier. That's,
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's got that, and that's really nice like that. I mean, you can. It looks so much better when it's actually worn. Because when I try to do it from my imagination, like you can, if you have your arm raised like this with a shield on it, I could fake that, but it wouldn't look. The shadow that shield casts from the light source is so much different than what you're actually gonna get by seeing it real. Because it might hit the face this way and the shadow come across the body and hide important things. And this is one of the things. If you have armor on, you might not be able to lift your arm up all the way because the armor gets in the way. There's a whole bunch of interesting things that come into play.
Yeah, lighting is shading and lighting is really important when you're painting, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's the name of the game. That makes everything look the way you and I look right now.
Have you studied the history of art at all to see how people were drawing and painting
well, when
1,000 years ago?
When I went to Syracuse, I had to. I didn't take any art history classes in Utica, so when I had to make up for all the art history, because they have a huge art history requirement that you have to go through, and I took I don't know how many credit hours of just art history, and so I got to study about Rembrandt and Manet, Monet, and all the Titian and all the old school painters, and it's a good thing to do because I've been to the Met and I've seen Rembrandt's works and stuff like that, and he probably has the most influence over me as far as classical painters are concerned. In the way he can capture a face, and the hands and make him look. He has a completely different painting style than I do, and he uses thick paint. You can see it's I think they call it impasto, but they're luminous though, the faces, and I try to capture that in mine, but I know it's a poor.
But you know what? Everybody who does anything is unique in some way.
Yeah.
What do you consider is different about you than all these other people you said you're competing with across the country to do this kind of thing? What's different about what you do? I'm sure
head.
your personality comes out in every painting somehow.
Yeah. It's the way. I guess it's just the way that I see things, and I guess that's really the only difference. It's the way you imagine. Like I could draw a scene from a book, and someone could draw the same exact scene from the book, and they'll look completely different, and I guess that's pretty much the only difference. And there's just difference in painting styles and stuff like that.
We've mentioned the word imagination quite a few times.
Yeah.
And every time I mention the word, I hear that song. Imagination from all my trips to Disney World in Orlando. But imagination is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some might think that a person who draws this kind of artwork has a tremendously dark side. But you don't seem to be dark anywhere from what I can view from here, David.
No, just my hair.
But it's not a dangerous dark side. It's just a place in your imagination that it's fun to go.
Yeah, that's basically it. It really is.
Calvin, when the camera was shut off and we were changing batteries or doing something, said, "Have you ever tried anything else?" And you really haven't. You don't have any great desire now, do you?
No, not really. Like I was telling Calvin before, I could draw Adirondack mountain scenes and animals and stuff from nature, but it's not as exciting to me as drawing something from my own head.
You'd much rather draw the animal and put long claws on it.
Yeah, basically.
Scaly skin.
That's true. I have a lot of people that always ask me to make portraits of themselves or their family or their baby or whatever, and then I always sort of shy away from it because it's not what I really like to do. I've done it once in a while, but it's not. If they want me to make their loved one a damsel in distress or something like that, I can do that easily enough. But it's sort of boring to me to draw just a portrait, and it just I would much rather fit that into a fantasy environment than to just make a portrait of somebody.
Well, you're in the mainstream right now because there's so much interest in fantasy, so much tremendous interest in fantasy, and it's one milieu feeds on the next, and the Harry Potter series. Everybody's waiting for the next book.
Yep, that's true.
And this young authoress who stumbled on this Harry Potter idea at first seemed completely blown away by its universal attraction.
Yep.
But now, as she's written several of the books, and each one seems to get bigger than the last one, so does her paycheck, and she's beginning to get the idea.
Yep.
Isn't that true?
Yeah, definitely.
You're right in the middle of it now, so go with the flow.
Yep, that's true.
It's got to make you feel good to paint and draw what you like and still be able to make a buck.
Yeah, it is
While you're
nice.
doing it.
It is nice. It's really nice, and have people see it.
But what's the next step for you? I mean, do you have a...
The next step is basically to have my artwork just become more popular with in New York, where all the big publishing houses are, so I can, not have to have a part-time job eventually, But until that time, I just keep doing this stuff and mailing out my stuff.
Obviously, you have a lot of local support, your family and your friends,
Yep.
people in the local area.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's anything in modern technology that will aid and abet you if you continue with this search. Do you still use pens and brushes, the same kinds that have been around for
Of course.
years and years
Yep.
and years?
Yep, definitely. It's
I don't know. Not being in that field, I don't know what new kinds of things are come out, new kinds of paint.
well, they always come up with new actually, no, you know what? I do. It's a product called Liquin, and it basically what it does, like I had mentioned earlier, I do oil paints, and oil paint notoriously it takes a long time for it to dry. And when I start a painting, what I do is I'll take this sketch that's been adhered to the masonite, and I'll take it and cover it in a uniform color with acrylic paint. And basically what that does is kill all the white spots, so it's not so glaring and not so horrible. And then I'll build up the color with acrylic because it dries a lot quicker. And so that when I go to actually put on my oil glazes, there's already color established that didn't take me long to do. And I take the oil paint and I mix it with that Liquin product, and it's basically just a dryer. It helps the oils paints dry quicker, not as quick as acrylic, but when I'll put a glaze for the sky, say, it'll dry in 5 hours as opposed to a day or two if you had just left it with oil. Yeah, it takes a long time for it to dry. So Liquin is it's good because it thins the paint out. It sort of acts as linseed oil, and it's also good because it increases the drying time. The more you use, the less time it will take for it to dry.
How late in the process can you make a
Correction?
A correction?
I can make a correction now.
Go back and...
Yeah, I mean, as long as
Not that you want to.
No, but I mean, I can make a correction anytime. Any one of these paintings I could pull off the wall and
Just a matter of...
change something.
You know,
It's just a matter of having someone force me to do it, I guess. if an art director said that, returned it and said, make the sky blue or make the sky orange, then
Does that bother you when that happens? I mean, like I said before, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not very creative, but I don't like to rewrite. I like the first product that comes out of my brain.
Yeah, but you know what? I've never really. I'm trying to think if that has ever happened before. And I don't think it has.
Yeah, you finish something that you think is beautiful, and they tell you that is the biggest bunch of crap that we've ever seen. We want the figures different size.
It's usually resolved in the sketch stage.
It is, so you don't have to sweat that.
Right, and when I've done a painting, there's never been a complaint about an aspect of color, because when it comes to the painting stage, that's usually where all the things about placement, composition is solved in the sketch stage, or it better be solved in the sketch stage, because then they're gonna have to pay me to go back and rework something that they've already said is
I
good.
think that's a great tribute to your talent, David.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Let me ask you something else. If strange stray thoughts jump into my mind as you're talking, and I remember all the wonderful illuminated manuscripts from the Middle Ages that I've seen. Did you have you ever looked at those and marvel
Yeah, they're beautiful.
at how every page is printed by hand and illuminated? Our viewers may not know what that means, but the beautiful drawings and scroll work around every one of those pages of illuminated
it's amazing.
manuscript.
It's amazing. I've seen some of them at the Met actually, and they have a section of middle-aged artwork.
Mind you, these are
Have 'em there.
these are monks that spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
That have a lot of spare time.
That is true. But they're artists in their own time, definitely.
But before Gutenberg and his printing press,
Yeah,
that's how it was done.
Yep.
Have you ever tried to illuminate manuscript yourself?
No. That's more of a graphic type thing, and I never really.
I had a good friend who just pops into my mind often because she was just a delightful human being. Her name was Lou Sackett, who lived in Saranac. And every time she wrote a letter, she illuminated the letter.
Oh,
Every
that's
time
nice.
she would clip a poem from a newspaper and paste it on pasteboard to send to me, she would illuminate it. So everything she did, she could
Had her own
not
personal
let
touch.
she could not let it stand without drawing something.
That is funny.
Almost all the books that she owned were illuminated with her own little characters.
Huh.
And Lou, in her mind, because of various depressions that she went through in her lifetime, did go through what I would call a dark period, as some artists do. Her paintings reflected that, but they're the most incredible of all her artwork because it was just more bizarre. I don't know, do you find, of course you do everything, you do a lot of things by design. You have to do it, you want to do
Right.
something that way. So did you ever just say, okay, I feel like really terrible today, and then just get mad and see what comes out of the other end? Can you
No.
tell your mood by looking at some of your earlier artwork? No?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, there.
I'm always just a pretty happy guy.
That track went right in the toilet, didn't it?
I'm always just a pretty happy guy. I never
You don't think your
had
mood
it translate.
affects? Boy.
No, I don't really think so. My mood affects what, like if it's something that I'm drawing on my own, like if I think of an idea, if it gets me excited to do it, then that's what I do. But my mood has never really been a factor in.
Except when you get up in the morning and you have to have another one done by Tuesday and
Yeah.
say, oh, gosh.
Then you're just sitting there painting by numbers.
It's like when I used to jog. You hate to get out there till you've done the first mile
And then
things
it's
kind of
all
fall in place
Yep.
and do it.
And then you feel like doing it. Yeah.
Well,
That's pretty much how
I
it is.
noticed very interesting collection of things in your library over here.
No, it's a small part of my library actually. That's like my my soft cover books. That's a lot of my reference section right there, my National Geographics, and it's great too. My dad has he's got a National Geographic file. He got it from their he ordered it from the company. It's all the National Geographics on CD. And
Oh, wow.
so if I ever need anything, I go over there, I can put it onto the computer, and I can pull up. You could type in eagles, and it'll give you every National Geographic that had eagles in it. And then I can go back to my little section here or to his larger section and find the National Geographic articles that have it, and then I can create whatever I have to create out of that. And it's fun. A lot of my even dragons, you might not think it, but they're all based on what did I use? Bats, cats, and lizards. That's a combination of all of them. That's when I wanted, and birds too. They have a very bird-like pose. A lot of my dragons, they have when they fly, they have bat wings. And when they stand, they're a mixture of a cat's legs. They're very more graceful than what they used to draw 15, 20 years ago. And that's part of my reference collection. When I want to draw a dragon, I'll go down to my reference and I'll find if I need to know how a wing looks, or I want like a really lifelike pose of a dragon in midair. Well, then you can find a picture of a bat or a bird, and that will give you an idea of how you want that
Well,
dragon to look.
this
in
is a
mid-flight.
perfect example of these flying dragons. They look like
Yep.
artist renditions of whatever those flying birds were in prehistoric history,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So
Oh, and you know what's funny too? I was just thinking about it. I said that when I was a kid, I used to draw dragons all the time, or dinosaurs all the time, and I had pulled this one out earlier, and I forgot about it. But this is one.
Oh wow, this
Yeah.
is so cool.
This is
Look
one that I
at
did.
This. Wow.
And it's got my dinosaurs in it finally. I did a painting with it. And this is period armor right here. That's another thing that comes back to reference.
Okay, well, how old is this one?
This is
I'm
very,
looking-
very new. This is very
Is
new.
it real new?
And my name is somewhere. I know I signed it. Oh, there it is. Right in
Oh,
there.
come on,
right in the
you
crease
really,
right there.
you really outdid yourself. With that. Even the trifocals, I have a hard time finding out. Oh, this is great, David. This is incredible.
Yeah,
I might
there's a
have
lot
to
of
take
detail
back
in
my
that.
earlier preference. This is really cool. A lot of amazing
Detail work.
detail.
Yep. That's what makes them. That's what makes them
The
look.
the look in its eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. Like I think you're weird too, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really wonderful. There's so much amazing detail.
All the scratches in the armor.
Oh
All
yeah,
that stuff.
just
All the scratches in his armor and the shield and everything. I like that one.
oh yeah, that's decent.
All the little dots I have to highlight his face, the Styracosaurus's face.
you
all that neat
you
stuff.
haven't sold this one yet?
No, I'm bringing this to New York with me, and hopefully I can put a price tag on there and somebody will buy
Put a
it.
big price on it. Somebody will.
I think I'm gonna have to.
How long? We never discussed that. How long does a painting like this take? From beginning to end.
Like I just finished a module cover for a company, and it took me. They wanted it done in. I think they said 3 weeks, or no, 2 weeks, and I was busy at the time with another project, and I wanted more time, so I just asked them for, if I could have maybe 3.5 weeks to finish it, and they said, oh, of course, and so usually I can get like that painting or that one right there. It takes a lot longer for me to do them, but if I do it for somebody else, I can get them done. I can make myself get it done in 3 weeks, 2 weeks. If it's pushing it. It depends on how busy it is. If it's a fight scene with a lot of characters in it, that takes a long time. But if it's something that's a lot of sky with 2 figures, it's not going to take me very long at all, and I can whip that out.
So you're not one of these guys that has difficulty letting it go, finishing it,
No,
just putting the last stroke and say, okay, that's it. I'm
no.
not
I put the
gonna-
last stroke down. Thank
That's
God, go to bed.
Next
Yep.
project.
Yep. Hopefully, yeah. If it's one right in back of the other, that's excellent. It's usually.
How about murals? Have you ever thought about murals?
I've thought about them, but the way I paint is so detailed that I would take me years to finish a 5 foot by 5 foot section, probably.
Really?
But it's just the way my mind works. I mean, maybe I could pick up a thicker brush and be able to use that easier than I could. But I'm so into the fine detail with my little brushes, and that's where my mind works.
I mention that because this gal Lou Sackett that I knew, the late Lou Sackett, did a wall of her house just for fun, and it's amazing. All these many years later, nobody lives in the house anymore.
But they have that beautiful mural.
But they got that mural sitting there, and I just
Yeah.
wondered if somebody came up and said, David,
You never know.
$10,000 to do this wall.
Well, and I would do the best I could on that wall.
I'll be there Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. I would try it. What the heck? But I'd make sure they knew that was the first wall I ever did. So don't be too horrified if it doesn't come out
Now,
right.
did you talked about taking pictures? Did you study photography as part of your education?
Yep. I took a photography class in Utica, and then there was a class. It was a beginning illustration class by this guy Murray Tinkleman, and it was his big thing was to he was there to emphasize the camera and its importance in illustration, and his whole class was about taking your camera out into the field and taking your photographs, set up a scene, set up a person, and use the photograph as part of your painting, because that's going to give you the realism that you want. There's some some illustrators out there that aren't realistic, and that's fine. They wouldn't use a camera, but it's just a tool, you know, that helps you to. I mean, I would love it if I had the time to spend a month or two drawing a model, but I'm not graced with that time, so I have to use a camera to speed up the process. And I like to tell myself that if Rembrandt had a camera, he would probably he would have used it.
You know, the deadline part of it is something that amazes me. To
Yeah,
have
that's-
somebody tell you you've got 3 days to do a presentation, or even a week and a half, that's
Well, there's some illustrators out there that can do a painting like that in 3 days, you know, and that amazes me. I'm not that loose with my time. But they have a technique, they have a style that allows them to be able to whip a painting out in 3 days and be able to and have it look really good. Like when I go to a convention of fantasy work, some of the illustrators are just blow me away how beautiful their work is. And I have to constantly walk back over to my artwork and go, okay. I can compete with these guys.
You know, it's
my
all-
insecurity aside, I can compete.
That was another question I was going to ask. You know, who do you really emulate that's in the business today? Somebody that's been around for a long time, either your own professors. Very often, people who teach art are not wonderful artists. Unfortunately, they're better teachers than they are artists. But
The guys in
some are
Syracuse
very
were
good.
all exceptional professors. There was, you know, there's some of them that had had a high school degree, but their artwork is what got them their job. And as far as me emulating them, not really. None of them really did fantasy artwork. And the fantasy artists that are out there, I don't know if I consciously made my stuff look like anybody's, but it probably does, but not to my eye. I mean, there's artists who I appreciate, but there's no one who I've consciously tried to copy, I don't think, or to make my art look like theirs. You know, I've come up with my own style of painting. My process I've gotten through other artists, through talking with them. You know, like to make the process from the sketch to the finished product, through talking with other artists, I've gotten it. But as far as the look of my paintings, that's through trial and error on my part.
Who else in your family is an artist? Anybody?
Not
In this
really.
generation or other generations that went before? Have you ever thought about where this
No, I don't
where
know.
this bent comes from?
I don't know.
Neither one of your parents were
No,
artists?
not really. Not really. I know my grandmother liked to draw, but that's what my dad said. But I never.
Never saw any
No.
of her work?
No. I don't know why.
Maybe it started with you.
Yeah, you
Maybe
couldn't-
it
you
held
never
back
know.
a few generations. It's interesting to try
Yeah.
to speculate on where it comes from, because
Yeah.
many times young musicians are encouraged because their parents played music
Right,
for years.
right.
Or there was always art around the house. Or, you know,
That's
but that
true.
wasn't true in your place.
No, it was where I grew up. You know, my parents have 100 acres of woods, and I used to love walking through the woods. You know, and that's where a lot.
Imagining that the dragons were behind
Exactly.
every tree.
Yeah, and then you can a lot of my artwork. You can see that it's a lot of it's outside. You know, and I like the landscapes, and I like to be able to fit in, you know, a fantasy creature into the landscape, because that's, you know, that's I guess that's where my head is.
How about, what else would there be? Would there be a coffee table book in the offing of
Hey, that would be
30 or
great.
30 or 40 of your best paintings?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, but
You thought about it?
I'd have to, you know, find a publisher who was willing to market my work like that, and I'd probably have to put money into it myself, you know. But
I wonder if that would be a step, though.
that
I
is
mean,
definitely
you know,
a step.
I would,
Yep, there's a lot of.
a lot of people could not afford to own several of your paintings at $1,000 a piece, or hopefully $10,000 a piece.
Yeah, come on.
But you know, to have them reproduced and
Yeah.
look, if they'll buy the cards, maybe they'll buy the.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. It's always an option. It's always something.
Have we seen? Is there anything else you've done that we should see before we?
I've got stacks of paintings. I don't know.
Do you really?
Yeah, I mean, these are all paintings that I've done over time.
Well,
These
show
are
us
all-
a-
these
show
are
us a
all
few.
cards. These are all.
We don't want to leave any stone unturned here. We want to look at some stuff. What have
Okay.
you What have you got first?
Well, we were talking while we were in
Yes.
the break about this painting,
It's beautiful.
and
It's your mommy.
yep,
What a
yep.
wonderful, wonderful picture.
I had a-
That doesn't look like a photograph. Nothing ever. did.
I had a way of I had an idea of what I wanted to have a sorceress casting a spell, and
I wonder if she's
Me and
ever
my mom
played
is
that
not.
role before.
no, I think that was the first time. And this was a neat setup because I had I took a light like this, and I took off the housing, so there was just a light bulb, and I put the light bulb, I put the arm of the lamp right where you see the light source, and that is what created that neat effect on all her arm right here and everything, was putting the light bulb almost in the palm of her hand, and it created that.
And you
the
took a
lighting.
photograph. And
I
then-
set her up. I dressed her up. I had all this neat stuff in the background here, and I snapped a photo. And then I placed all the, the magical fire glow around the creature inside the bubble, and that one was a pretty easy painting to do.
Oh, it's spectacular. This is an example of what you call a postcard.
Yeah. These are when we were talking over break. These are this is what I send out to the art directors and stuff, and then they take a look at that, and they don't call me, or they call me, depending on what they have or
This
what they
original painting is on your mother's wall.
need. Yep. I gave that to her.
Calvin asked when the camera was shut down a few minutes ago, do you save? Do you keep a complete track of everything you've ever done? So if somebody says,
Pretty much, yeah. I've got everything saved on computer, and just beyond that, I have my girlfriend, of course, keeps everything that has been published. I mean, I have some of it here, but everything that I've done that's been appeared in a book or appeared in a card, she keeps a basket full of the actual books and the cards and everything. So.
but if something
Pretty
appeared in a book, could somebody still buy a print of it on your website?
Yep. They could go to www.davidmonette.com and
Makes sense
pick
to
up
me.
pick up just about any painting that's on the site, which is neat.
Oh,
It's a good way to go.
that-
You get
that's wonderful.
a nice print like that.
Okay, what have we got here?
This stuff here, these are little stipple things that I've done for various
The
magazines.
effect is what you're talking about, stipple, for the people who don't know.
Oh right, yeah, it's dots. It's me sitting there with a pen and making tiny little dots that actually make the image. Thousands of little dots, and it takes, but it takes a lot less time than you would think. It takes to do a small little painting like that. These were for the inside of a magazine.
They look like woodcuts almost.
Yeah, I could see that. Yep. But and that's for fantasy. These small ones right here I did for Dell magazine. These are Alfred Hitchcock paintings. They're not. When I first worked for them, Alfred Hitchcock isn't really science fiction fantasy, but I couldn't turn the money away, so I took the job. And
Yeah.
after that, they wanted me to continue illustrating for them, and that's basically. I mean, these are only a few of the paintings of the the black and white pieces that I've done for them, and it was nice because they were small, and it took me
So that's an ongoing thing?
It was, but they started having financial difficulties, and I think they didn't want to pay me as much. It was because they were paying me $150, and they were paying everybody else a lot less, I think, which is kind of nice. But they ended up having to drop me because they didn't want to lower my rate, and they didn't want to.
Yeah.
But and these are all black and whites that I've done for just different gaming magazines, different.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it's Wizards Towers. Just interesting things like that. There's tons of black and whites, and I send little things out like this to art directors so that they know I can do black and white work, so that they can use them in their magazines and whatever.
We're going through these quickly as if they were throwaways, but believe me, they're not. They're wonderful, each
Yeah,
one
they're
in its
little.
own right. This is great. What a wonderful
Yep,
facial expression.
yep. That was a battle scene that they wanted me to illustrate, and just little. This one took me a while to do because it's kind of dark, but
Oh, look at this.
yeah, it's a middle-aged Middle-aged thing there. This one, actually, I don't know why that's there. That's something I started and never finished.
Come on.
I
How
know.
many of those do you have hanging around?
Not very many, actually. Maybe 3.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, this is for a card set. This was for Rifts, I think it was called, and for Cyborg card set. And I had in that series, I had maybe 5 paintings, maybe more. This one. When they want you to do something, you do them all at once. So you do a lot of them at once. So there's that one right there. And you can see the reference in that the
Sure.
sunset and everything. And they give you a character. What they'll do is they'll give you a whole bunch of different poses that other artists have done of the same character that they want you to illustrate. And this was an actual character, so I have to look at the character, the other representations, and then make my own according to the situation that they want me to put them in. Like
Yours
this
is
one
still
was.
slightly different?
It's got my own touch to it, but you can still tell that it's the same creature. You know, it'd be like drawing the Terminator. You know, I mean, it would
Well,
still.
it's like
You'd have
comic
to,
strips. When a guy dies, sometimes somebody else takes over
Exactly,
and draws
yeah.
a comic strip.
Like Spider-Man. Yeah.
Spider-Man, a perfect
exactly.
example,
Yep.
yeah.
And this
Spider-Man is Spider-Man, but he undergoes the changes.
It's like a futuristic city.
Yeah,
You know,
that's cool.
little things like that. These didn't take me very long to do. They actually didn't give me much time. I try to get as much time as possible out of somebody when they want me to do something. And
Well, this
These are
is,
all-
they're going to be around for a long time.
yeah, these are all.
This is kind of interesting.
Yep. There's a living brain that they wanted me to represent.
Okay.
And it's like these were all done. I had maybe, I don't know how long they gave me to do them, but this was the last one in the series that I was doing. And you can tell because I didn't spend much. This took me a day, and I had to do it quick because I was running out of time. And even though it is oil, it does take. I don't like sending it out on the same day because if I do, then this will get,
Yes.
it'll
Yeah.
get all messed up. So I give myself a day beforehand. I tried. I've heard one of my professors at school, and I've actually thought what a great idea would be excellent to try is he took one of his paintings and put it in the oven, thinking that it could help it dry, and it peeled. He was doing it on illustration board, and it peeled the whole thing back. So I'm never going to try that.
No.
I was thinking of different ways to do it. Like the reason that happened was because it was too hot and all the heat was, not. So I was thinking maybe if I get some really hot lights, I can put it on the painting and have a fan blowing on it to help, dissipate some of the heat. But I've never been brave enough to try.
Microwave it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, give it a
I've
shot.
never been brave enough to try that.
Oh,
And these are just. This is for another Riffs card series here. And some of them actually, I don't think they used. Oh no, they didn't use. They used that one. I don't think they used this one right here. Because for this it was strange. The company that was producing the cards had to go through Palladium Books, I think, who were the ones that had the actual name Riffs, and Palladium had to okay all the paintings before they could be produced as cards. So there's like 1 or 2 that weren't able to be used as cards, but I mean, they still paid me for them, so if they don't want
Sure.
to. Yeah, this is a little one that I did for J.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, that's
Middle
nice.
Earth.
I like that one.
Yep. And this is something I did in high school.
Come on.
Yeah. Now you can tell there's no photo reference in that, and there should have been, but I didn't know at the time, so that's an old one right there.
Back then it was DM, huh?
Yep. That was me being lazy.
Oh,
And
still
then
nice.
this one right here was this is for J.R. Tolkien as well. They give little titles for him. I think this was called Gloom, because they were running through a forest and the forest was coming alive and capturing the creatures.
Of course.
Yep, that was kind of neat. And just different. I mean, they had me doing a lot of nature scenes. I don't know why exactly, but they had me doing a lot of mountains with volcanoes and stuff like that, which I really don't mind doing that much as long as it's. They had me doing neat things like this, like inside caves and stuff like that.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's neat. I look at them now, and there's so much that I would have done different now than I did that. I mean,
Too late.
Yeah, I know. I always, whenever I look at my stuff, all I think of is ways that I can improve it.
Of
You know,
course,
especially
everybody-
older stuff.
Everybody does, yeah. This is
You know,
nice.
and this
Wow.
was, yep, this was the Gem Deeps of Aglarond. This is for J.R. Tolkien as well. Like I said, I'd done a ton of paintings for them.
Did you get this
over
out of
time.
National Geographic?
Yes, I did.
Boy, it
I
looks
got
like a million that you've seen,
yeah,
doesn't it?
Yep, and you got
I love it.
And this
Oh,
was
this is
for
cool.
this was for what was this for? This was a card game again, and I can't remember. It was like
No
a
violence here, right?
yeah. This was a what was it called? It was like an Arabian type card series that they were doing, and I did that one. And I think no, this is J.R. Tolkien again. This is I don't really like this one.
Don't be
But,
so hard on yourself, David.
This is for Robert Jordan.
Oh yeah, that's good.
He
That's cool.
This I can't remember what the creature was called, but it's a mixture of a bear and a human, and they
Wow,
wanted me to
that's
illustrate.
great.
Yeah,
That's really great.
yeah. So I did a lot of the part animal, part humans for their characters, and this is actually my brother Ben. That's his body right here, but not the
Oh,
face,
is
of
it?
course.
Okay.
I had to put, you have to pose him like that to get the, and he's got more than 4 fingers, so that he's not.
Are muscles really that big?
No, I had to accentuate some. No, of course they are. And this, I can't remember who that is, but this was for J.R. Tolkien again. And that didn't take me very long, actually. Actually, you know what? This one was a hard. Oh, I know who this was. When I did this, the art director had a hard time. She had an idea of what she wanted to see, and I had an idea of what I thought she was talking about. And it went from the assistant art director to the art director, and she actually took a picture of her husband posed next to a tree and said, "This is how I want the character standing, how I want him to look." Because this is supposed to be a branch of a tree that has a consciousness that came down and was touching his hand. And I had a different idea of what, and it was a miscommunication that we finally had straightened up because she posed her husband, and we came up with that together, I guess. That was something that didn't take that long to do. And this is something I did in college. This right here. This is an old one.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. This is something I can't remember what project it was for or anything, but yeah, I mean, you can tell the difference in. I mean, you can see there's. I put a bad glaze on it for one thing, but you can see the difference in how they look now and how they look then. You can see the brush strokes
What
in
was
it.
the idea? These
I don't know. I can't remember what the project was
they
for.
look like jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, it was something about it was a business,man, and he was a very complex person or something. I can't really remember what the project was.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is this somebody posed for this?
No. I think I lifted that image out of a magazine.
Okay.
But you can do that when you're in college.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're not selling it. You can do that when you're in college and you're not selling it.
Nobody's going to come back and get you for it.
Nope,
That's for
nope,
sure.
not that one. Nope.
Well, I
No.
think. Do you have any questions at the last moment here, Calvin?
No, I think we pretty much
We've
covered.
Covered all
covered the
bases.
life and loves of David Monette from 22 South Platte Street in Plattsburgh. You certainly have inspired me never ever to draw anything again. No. Everybody,
Just the opposite.
Everybody draws. Everybody does things for different reasons. And I certainly never hope to make a lot of money with my drawings, but I think mine are unique as compared to yours. And I think that's true of everybody who writes or draws. It has to be a signal of your true
Yep, definitely.
what's going on down deep in you on a
Yep.
given day.
Yep.
I have no doubt about your ultimate tremendous success. I think you got enough going for you right now, so it will sustain you. But I think when are you going, in March?
Yeah, I've got a show in March that I'm going to in New
We're
York.
recording this, as I said, on President's Day on February 17th of 2003. You must let us know how you make out.
Oh, great. Yep.
We'll make sure we get on your website and see some of your stuff on there. Certainly when I get home, I'll show my wife some of your stuff from the website, and she'll enjoy it. And
Great.
we'll pass the word.
Great.
And if somebody out there has a lot of money and is doing something that they want to incorporate your artwork in,
Give
they
me a
can,
call. Go on my website. You can definitely get in touch
right on
with
the
me.
website will
Yep,
do it.
Yep. There's my Everything's on there.
That's terrific. The best to your family and to you in the future, David.
Thank you.
I won't say good luck because you don't need it. You've already prepared your good luck for many, many years to come. But best of everything to you.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
And thanks to Calvin for setting this up and inviting me down on a day off to meet you. It was a great experience for me,
Well, I'm
and
glad.
I won't forget it for a long time. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.